Hello, everyone. So I know that many of you haven't necessarily heard from myself or the IWG team as we have been navigating this pandemic with the coronavirus, but primarily we were taking the time in order to gather as much data as possible to really be able to understand the origin of the virus, as well as how to best help our patients navigate it, because there's a lot of mixed information that is floating around the internet. There is mixed information that is being discussed, with family members, friends, etc. And really the sources of it, and really being able to dig into the research and also have a background of really understanding viruses, I think is really essential for us to step into this and really feel confident about how we can protect ourselves, but also protect our family. So as I've been really navigating all of the data out there and looking at the statistics, looking at the research, and really looking to some of my trusted mentors, I have collaborated some notes that I want to review with our community. And for those of you that are looking more so for, the research, the data, and the nitty gritty of the information that I'm going to provide, I will have a link that you can actually watch in order to see all of the back end. Primarily, I'm not presenting in that way because I think that most of you are really overwhelmed and you're really just looking for answers and you're looking for solutions. And I want to provide you with information, but I also want to really focus on how you can be proactive and prophylactic in protecting yourself, protecting your family. And just, I don't want you to think, well, is it too late? This has been going on. There is always an opportunity to support our immune systems in a way that it can either even fight off what we are currently experiencing or prevent us from developing an issue when coming in contact with the virus. So, in addition to that, before we really dive in to help better understand the situation, is our team and I have really discussed what was best to keep our doors open or to close in order to prevent the potential spread. And, our decision was to keep our doors open based off of our knowledge and understanding of viruses. But in addition, what I'm about to present further validates why it is actually so important for you to not necessarily fear the virus, but more so to understand that there are proactive ways that you can go about protecting yourself. And this is things that we teach on a daily basis to our patients because we are obviously in a moment in time that there is a massive epidemic, and viral spreading is something that we're all in tune with because it's all over the media and it's being drilled in our heads that we can infect at any moment in time or be infected. But what most of us don't realize is that we are exposed to the same types of dangers every single day of our lives. And this is in the realm of everything from water damaged buildings causing biotoxicosis and mold toxicity. This is viruses from people that are carriers. 99% of the people that I test actually have some form of a herpes virus as well as the Epstein-Barr virus. So when those viruses are active and people are super run down and they feel exhausted, chances are those viruses are active and they are shedding them. We are exposed to bacteria every time we touch our cell phones, let alone a subway rail or anything else we come in contact with. So we are constantly being exposed. And even as we move out of this pandemic and we start to really think about our environment and our health differently, we need to understand that we should be taking similar precautions. And I'm not saying social isolation or social distancing, because that's going to create a psychological pattern that we all don't necessarily want to experience. But this is more so about take care of your immune system, de-stress yourself, don't run yourself down, making sure that you are using proper precautions to support yourself, give yourself antioxidants, eat foods that actually nourish you, don't necessarily just nourish your emotions. So these are all things that we have to consider. And I think that sometimes looking at what's happening right now, it is opening a lot of people's eyes, and it is making us more aware that viruses are something that can debilitate a person or cause massive health ramifications. But this doesn't just apply to this time, this applies to everything that happens hereafter. So when it comes to the actual coronavirus, one of the biggest things is that this is not a new virus. Coronavirus is something that has been around for many, many years, and it has been something to be pretty benign in the event that someone has come in contact. But of course, when we're dealing with viruses, there are a variety of different strains of viruses. So not all strains are created equal. This being a newly discovered strain, really, it's a lot of unknown. And that's really what most doctors and physicians are saying, is that we don't know a lot about it. We're in the process of gathering the statistics. And what we are seeing is that, there are certain people that are infected, that are asymptomatic, have no symptoms whatsoever. And then we obviously have extremes that people are going into organ failure. So we have to also think about what are causing those extremes. Why are certain people completely asymptomatic, and then why do we have other people that this is becoming a fatal infection? So when it comes to the current statistics and looking at the coronavirus, men seem to be more asymptomatic than women. And what's interesting about this is that men actually typically have more of the comorbidities that make them more at risk. And what I mean by that is a lot of men are higher statistics for things like heart disease. So if you do have heart disease, and if you are on certain medications for high blood pressure, ACE inhibitors to be specific, these are things that actually make you more susceptible to the virus becoming more virulent in the body. So what this means is it could be more aggressive in the body, and it can actually cause more long-term issues, or it can cause more severe issues. So this is something really important to understand, is that this virus at this current time is preying on, we could call it the weak, but all I mean by that is it's preying on people that have pre-existing conditions, if they know it or they don't. And I think this is really, really important for all of you to understand, is that if you've watched any of my other webinars, I bring to light how sick of a population we are, but most of us have classified it as our normal. Most of our fatigue, our swollen glands, our headaches, our migraines, our seizures, our gut issues, these things have just become our normal. And we are not understanding that these symptoms are a way of our body saying there's something wrong. And despite blood work maybe not picking up on it, it doesn't mean that there is nothing going on. So when we're talking about the populations that are being most affected, we're talking about an elderly population that are immune compromised. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But we're also talking about now younger populations. And this is all of the things that are coming out in the media right now that is scaring the crap out of all of us, and also really scaring us as parents. And they're saying, oh, now this is also affecting younger generations, and now, nobody is safe to this virus. But what they've actually now concluded is that the younger populations, because of the generation that they grew up in and how attached they are to different devices, this is everything from cell phones to iPads to video games to just being connected on the internet through TV and a variety of other platforms, that these are all sources of radiation. These are all sources of what is called electromagnetic frequencies. And they're finding that because these kids are sleeping with their cell phones in their bed or on their bedstand, or falling asleep in front of a video game, or, watching TV, or they're using their AirPods and they're wearing their Apple Watches and their Fitbits, that these children are way more radiation toxic than people in their 30s, even up into their 50s and 60s. And this is because they have been using these devices since they were infants practically. So we are talking about radiation toxic children that are actually more susceptible to the coronavirus. In addition to this is that we are talking about certain cities that are on lockdown, and these are the cities where they have the most density of something called 5G, which are towers that are outputting massive radiation. In addition, is these are also areas that before 5G came around, they had a variety of different types of cell phone towers and other sources of radiation to keep us all connected due to their high population. So if you think this is a bunch of bogus woo-woo, that's totally fine. Please make sure to use the link that will be attached to this so that you can actually look at Dr. Klinghart's presentation that he gave a few days ago that actually provides you with articles, data, and research according to these statements. So it's really understanding that just because you can't see it does not mean that it's benign or not affecting you. All of the radiation that we are being exposed to on a day-to-day basis, especially the children that are attached to devices, this is actually something that is breaking down the immune system, that is causing more susceptibility to the virus, as well as a variety of other viruses and autoimmune conditions and other types of pathology. So again, this is not just about the current situation with the coronavirus, but this is also about the reality of why we have such a sick younger generation and why these kids are being diagnosed with autoimmune conditions by as early as 2 years old. So we really need to start thinking about how these devices and all of this, convenient technology is actually affecting us. The other thing too is that a lot of us are living in fear. We're very nervous. Are we going to get this virus? They're not testing if you don't meet the certain parameters, if you have not traveled, etc. In addition, they're shutting down some of the testing facilities because they're running out of supplies, and we just kind of feel lost. We don't know what to do. But do understand that there are other preliminary based assessments that can be used outside of the nasal swab that they are using to test for corona. But if you are someone that's concerned, am I more susceptible than the average person, you can actually go to Integrative Wellness Group, or you can go to your primary care and get a very simple CBC in order to evaluate your immune system. Is your white blood cell count low? Is your CD57 panel, is that low? Are your natural killer cells compromised? Do you have high inflammatory markers? Do you have elevation in something called your interleukin markers? These are all signs that your immune system is already compromised. In addition, that you are already, you're going to be more susceptible based off of a compromised immune system. In addition, is if you are currently feeling respiratory symptoms and you're not eligible to get the test, you can also see one of your physicians in order to seek out a chest x-ray. The chest x-ray can also give you insight if there is inflammatory changes, if there are any type of nodules, if there is fluid in the lung. It could definitely give you information. And this could be done at a local imaging center. You don't even necessarily need to go to the hospital. So these are some things just to keep in mind if you are extremely concerned, do I have this virus? And, I want to have peace of mind. Do I have it? Do I not? And you can actually seek out working with your primary care doctor, or seeking out to even contact Integrative Wellness Group to get some blood work done, as well as even a chest x-ray. So another big thing too is I want to get into having you understand more about what can you be doing to be proactive. So one thing that I want to say is that one of the reasons we also felt comfortable keeping our doors open to help our patients make sure their immune systems are boosted is, first, we have a variety of immune boosting therapies. This is one of the things that we do every single day for our patients. Our patients are the mysteries. They're the mysteries to conventional medicine that nobody was able to figure out. And they come to us in an immune crisis. And they come to us with a variety of viruses. They come to us with a variety of parasites, bacteria, fungus, you name it, we see it. And we are the ones that had to transition our practice from being almost health coaching, then to nutrition, then to functional medicine, into what we now call integrative medicine. And we did this because it was absolutely necessary for us to have as many tools as possible to help our extremely immune compromised patients. So at this point in time, we have a dozen different therapies that can be done to support the immune system. And this is outside of supplementation and dietary changes. So we are not only helping our patients, but we are also being very proactive in making sure that our team is doing immune boosting therapies every single day that they are in the office. They are all also on prophylactic supplementation that are all supporting their immune systems. Fortunately, all of our employees are on these supplements prior to this pandemic because they are encompassing this integrative health and wellness lifestyle as just a normal practice. And this has been amazing to not only for myself to be protected because I feel extremely healthy and extremely strong, and I am so happy to be able to show up for my patients, but really most of our team has been really able to protect themselves from this pandemic, which is obviously we're very, very, very grateful for. But one thing before we get into the aspects of how to support yourself is I want to go back to talking about how we mentioned the younger population is being affected, but the older population is being affected by the virus. So when it comes to the older demographic, and this is something that I see very, very often, is that when I have patients that come through my doors that are, 60 or 65 and up, they are usually extremely unaware of how many things they have going on. They've usually been diagnosed, with a mild heart condition, maybe heart palpitations, mitral valve prolapse. Some of them are on cholesterol medication because their cholesterol has been high. They've had maybe a scare. Oh, I had chest pain, but it turned out I did a stress test and, an EKG and I was totally fine. They have different issues with swelling or edema in their legs, but they're told that it's benign. Just make sure to lift their legs every day to improve their circulation. Varicose veins. Oh, it happens with aging. But in reality, when they come through and they do more comprehensive testing, these are individuals that assumed that they had, a mitral valve prolapse and varicose veins and some high cholesterol, but it actually turns out that they are suffering from 2 to 3 autoimmune conditions. And in addition to that, they are dealing with a more severe heart condition than they were told. And they have a variety of different infections that are the root cause to some of these conditions that they were completely unaware of. So the point of what I'm saying is that the elderly population is very often just being thought of as, well, your health declines with age, so that's why you're experiencing X, Y, and Z. And it's all a normal part of aging. But if you were to do better testing, you would find that some of these individuals actually have a more significant issue that's going on, potentially autoimmune conditions, heart failure, and other types of issues that are then making them more susceptible to something like the coronavirus. So again, this is really about the unknown because there is a lot of unknown because conventional medical practitioners are not necessarily taught to look beyond the system that they are trained in, but they are definitely not taught to really truly understand why certain autoimmune conditions could exist, why cancer can develop, and what could potentially be the root cause. It's just they dig to find a diagnosis. And really what a diagnosis is just merely a description of symptoms. So we are just looking at the person saying, oh, well, we finally figured it out. You have this. And we don't know why, but we know that you're going to be able to use this pill or do this surgery in order to deal with the damage or the symptoms, etc. So again, we're dealing with 2 different populations mostly affected, and they are both immune compromised, but they're immune compromised for different reasons. Okay, so as we get into really understanding the thing that is causing people to be so negatively impacted by the virus, So what happens when you come in contact with a virus and your immune system is not able to necessarily combat the virus because it is burdened for other reasons, then you are going to get what they call the cytokine storm. Some people honestly are already in a cytokine storm. You can actually measure these cytokines by running different markers in the blood. The interleukin markers are actually an amazing tool to be used. So again, you can request these tests from your primary care physician, and if they are not able to run them, then this is something that we do run regularly within our practice. So if you move into what we call the cytokine storm, this is going to create massive inflammation, as well as massive amino acid and enzyme release, that once that floods into specific tissues, those tissues start to shut down. So in the event that the virus is affecting the respiratory system and we have this cytokine storm that starts to debilitate the respiratory system, that is obviously going to compromise breathing, which is then going to lead to a fatal situation. So in order to start to combat this cytokine storm and to use different strategies in order to be preventative so that we can keep our immune systems boosted, but also keep the cytokines tamed, one of the primary things is vitamin C. And I know that there are a lot of you that are probably trying to find vitamin C and it is out of stock. So I know that that is the case right now, that many immune boosting supplements are not accessible. But I will tell you is that there are certain herbs that I'm going to discuss that are off of people's radar that you may have never even heard of before that are most likely available on the market. In addition to that, is there are certain companies that only sell to practitioners. So those companies are more likely to actually have some of these supplements still in stock. So one of the companies that we work with is called Physica Energetics. And I was actually going through prior to setting up this presentation in order to figure out, do they actually have certain immune boosting supplements that are still available and not sold out? And they do. So that is huge. But the thing is that we will have to order them on your behalf. So we did decide to set something up called the Immune Boost Pack. We have 3 different options. One is to come in-house, which I obviously know not many people are comfortable doing, but this is to do more immune boosting therapies using some of our local technologies. But we also have a virtual option, and this virtual option is to consult with our health coach and nutritionist in order to figure out what supplementation might be best for you, and then they will review it on a phone consultation, and then we will obviously get those supplements ordered and drop shipped to your home. More specifically, if you do already have the virus or you strongly feel that you do have it, we would highly recommend doing the second tier package, which is to send in a hair sample. The hair sample allows us to analyze your DNA so that we can actually customize and personalize the immune boosting supplements and not necessarily give you more generic supplements that are known to combat the virus. So this is really important for you guys to kind of know is available so that you don't necessarily feel like you are just home and, you know, it's just a waiting game as to when you are going to fall ill. So vitamin C is fantastic. So if you already have vitamin C, or you already, or you have access to it. So in a perfect world, if you have access to vitamin C, liposomal is best. So that's going to be a liquid version of vitamin C that is going to be absorbed underneath the tongue. If you only have capsules, that is totally fine. But you want to be taking, it depends on which system that you are in. If you are in the metric system, so grams, 1 gram per 30 minutes is actually extremely beneficial. The thing is that vitamin C can cause diarrhea or stomach cramping. So if that does happen, you need to just tailor back and you would space it out to be 1 gram about every 2 hours. In addition is if you have capsules, you can also be dosing according to capsules. So 500 milligrams every hour. Usually a capsule is about 500 milligrams. That is also a really good option as well. So these are things just to take into consideration if you do have vitamin C or you do have a local source that is supplying vitamin C. In addition to that, one of the specific herbs that is known to be extremely beneficial, primarily by combating something called furins. Furins are something that is going to trigger the cytokine response. So andrographis. So normally we source our andrographis through a company called biopureus.com. We also source our or andrographis through Standard Process and MediHerb, but unfortunately these are all sold out at this time. So Dr. Klinghardt put together a really amazing product, which actually is andrographis in combination with a couple of other immune boosting herbs, and it's called Astra Smile. Again, reference the notes below for you to have the links to this. Key Science is the company or the platform that is selling this. It is out of Europe, so I don't know how, if everything from a shipping perspective is working out in this current moment, but this is something that you could definitely look at. If you cannot access the Astra Smile because it's sold out or because they are not shipping internationally, then we also want to start looking at other herbs that, again, people might be unaware of. So one of those herbs is called Smilax. Smilax is something that is actually available through biopureus.com. It is also something that is available through a supplement called Gut Flora, which is through Standard Process. In addition, astragalus is a fantastic herb as well. But again, astragalus at this current moment, most of the platforms that I have looked at, it is sold out. Japanese knotweed, usually not something that is on people's radar. Japanese knotweed is something that we use regularly when we are dealing with Lyme disease infections as well as co-infections to Lyme disease. So this is a very, very potent herb that can be extremely beneficial in combating viruses and also controlling the inflammatory cytokine response. So Japanese knotweed is something that we usually source, again, through biopureus.com. And in addition, red root. Red root is another liquid tincture that is very supportive to the immune system. So this is also something that you can access through biopureus.com. So getting outside of those specific herbs, some of the other things that I want to put on your radar that might be a little bit easier to access, but also comes with some specific knowledge and regulations, is melatonin is actually one of the most potent inhibitors to something called the inflammasome. So again, if you want to learn more about the inflammasome, please check out Dr. Klinghardt's presentation to understand more about the biochemical processes. But for sake of being simplistic and just giving you guys tools, is this is going to be another avenue that is going to inhibit this inflammatory response and the flooding of the cytokines, which could compromise the respiratory system to a significant degree. So melatonin is one of the known inhibitors of the inflammasome. Not all melatonin is created equal, number one. Number two is melatonin also has to be taken with precaution in the event that someone is diabetic or dealing with blood sugar fluctuations. So the key thing is please do not take any type of melatonin before 3 p.m. because it's going to make you sleepy, number one, and number two is it will compromise insulin. So with that being said, this is something that I did check to see if it is available. Zetpil, Zetpil, is a platform that is offering all different forms of melatonin in the topical sense as well as even in the suppository form. If you are someone that is running out of options and you cannot find any other types of immune boosting herbs, vitamin C, etc., and you are now looking to the melatonin route, I highly, highly recommend please utilizing our immune boost pack so that you are doing this under supervision, because this is something that can not really just protect you from the virus, but melatonin is a potent detoxifier. So if you start amplifying detoxification, and you are not equipped to do that, or maybe you have more toxicity than you realize, you want to be able to consult with a practitioner or physician in order to make sure that you have all of your bases covered. So please be sure that if you are looking into the melatonin option, that you are consulting with a practitioner. And I don't know many practitioners that understand melatonin to the capacity that we do, as well as Dr. Klinghardt. So we are a great resource if you are someone that's looking to explore that route. For all of you women that are pregnant and are terrified, so I have good news. And again, you can look at Dr. Klinghardt's presentation in order to understand this more in detail, but it's really not much more in depth than I will describe. So when it comes to pregnant women, based off of the statistics, is pregnant women are not being affected, and their fetuses are not being affected by the virus. So the reason being is because a pregnant woman has double the melatonin of the normal population. And in the third trimester, they have up to quadruple the amount of melatonin than the normal population. So again, as we described, melatonin being very protective to the body, as well as controlling the cytokine response, this is something that is creating an amazing protective mechanism to women that are pregnant. So I hope this eases your mind, and I hope that this is something that will allow you to just calm yourself and just wait it out as we get through this time period, and know that you are more protected than you realize. So as we discussed, when it comes to the electromagnetic frequencies, there are definitely electromagnetic frequency clothing that can protect you. So pregnant women, this is something that you should be using anyway in order to cover your belly through your pregnancy. This is actually a requirement in China, is that all pregnant women are required to wear or EMF protecting clothing. So this is definitely an option for those of you, again, that already have some type of respiratory issue. If you have sarcoidosis, if you have, you've been susceptible to pneumonias, if you have even congestive heart failure because your lungs are involved with that, if you have pulmonary edema, if you have lung emphysema, COPD, I highly, highly recommend checking out keyscience.com or lessemf.com in order to get yourself some protective clothing, because that, again, is something that is creating radiation toxicity, which is making you more susceptible to the virus. So I mentioned this earlier, and I just want to reiterate, is that people that are taking ACE inhibitors that specifically lower blood pressure, so you're on a high blood pressure medication, this is extremely important to take into consideration, because the ACE inhibitors will inhibit very specific enzymes that actually protect the lung and the alveoli from this virus. So this is something that, if safe, is definitely you want to consult with your doctor about potentially coming off of it short term. There is some other options when it comes to being able to protect yourself against the high blood pressure. Consuming boatloads of raw garlic is actually really effective at lowering your blood pressure. And in addition to that, if you are someone who is really loading up on your selenium at this current moment because you heard it's good for the immune system, selenium is also classified as an ACE inhibitor, and again, can actually allow for the virus to enter into the lung and alveoli, just because it is inhibiting very specific enzymes that protect those areas. Okay, so again, going back to some of the herbs that we've already talked about that are extremely beneficial at protecting you from the virus. So we talked about vitamin C, but again, the availability might be compromised right now. We talked about andrographis being one of the best, but again, availability might be an issue. We also discussed smilax, astragalus, red root, and Japanese knotweed. A few others to take into consideration that, again, are more than likely available because it is off of people's radar is, one, being skullcap. Skullcap is fantastic for most of you right now because skullcap actually has the ability to calm the stress response and is classified as being very supportive for anxiety. So with all of us in this fear panic mode, skullcap is not just helping with the anxieties of the current situation, but is actually also helping to control that cytokine response as well as be protective to our immune systems against the virus. Another product is also calendula. I personally know in our office at this current moment, we have access to calendula, skullcap, and rosemary. So for those of you that are looking to, if you are local to us and you're looking to grab something as soon as possible, we will be reopening our doors on Tuesday. And we do have skullcap, calendula, and rosemary in stock, which are all very, very supportive to the immune system and protecting us against the virus. In addition to that is dandelion. You might be able to get yourself some dandelion tea from the local grocery store. So that is another option as well. Something that is extremely, extremely important for all of you, because right now, and this is for medical facilities, this is for people, this is for, other types of facilities that people are still going into, is that we're running out of alcohol wipes. There is no access to Lysol wipes, Lysol sprays, all different types of disinfectants are practically non-existent right now. So there is a very specific product that we've been using for quite a long time. It is called Briotech, BRIOTECH. It is an HOCl spray. HOCl is something that is naturally made by your white blood cells, and it is produced in order to fight infection. The HOCl spray is something that we do have in stock at Integrative Wellness Group. This is also something that you should be able to access on Amazon at this current moment, again, because a lot of people don't know about it. This could be sprayed on your mouth or in your mouth, on your mouth, on your face, in your eyes, up your nose. It could be sprayed on your hands. This should honestly be replacing your hand sanitizers. And this is something that is highly, highly, highly effective to be used on your body, in your body, and in your home. In addition, we also, I will be giving you a resource. I actually have it sitting next to me. We actually bought a device that you can buy on Amazon or even at Home Depot in order to actually act as a fogger through our home. And this was to actually put the HOCl into the air in order to deal with any airborne viruses or toxins, etc. So the HOCl is not just protective against viruses, it's also very protective against mold spores and other types of environmental toxins. Another thing that is also off of people's radar is propolis. So BioPureUS.com has a product called Brazilian propolis, and Brazilian propolis is highly, highly effective against fungus. The very fascinating thing about this is that when it comes to beehives, the beehives or the bees line the hive with propolis in order to protect the hive from fungal invasion, like mold spores building. So propolis has been known for a very long time to be a very potent antifungal, but it is also proving to be very beneficial at inhibiting the cytokine response, in addition to protecting against the virus as well. So with propolis, this is really beneficial to be taken just as a tincture. And Dr. Klinghardt just revealed that his company, keyscience.com, actually just created a propolis fogger in order to get propolis into the air and on surfaces of your home in order to, again, eradicate out different harmful infections, toxins, etc. So this is something extremely valuable. So we pretty much have two options here, utilizing the propolis through a very specific fogger, which you have to definitely go to keyscience.com to look at this. Keyscience, by the way, is KISCIENCE.com. If you are looking for the HOCl spray, we do have some here at Integrative Wellness Group. In addition, you can probably find it on Amazon. So I will be putting links to this, and I will also be putting links to the smogger as well. The other thing too is a lot of our patients have been calling us and, that are from a distance, and they're saying, I don't know what to do. I'm running out of food. I can't follow my dietary plan.
and I'm, obviously want to support my immune system. I want to eat fresh fruits and veggies, and I want to do as much as I can in order to protect myself. And one of our recommendations has been to actually fast. And fasting in this current state can be a bit dangerous if we have someone who is fasting and locked in their home with screaming children, as well as needy spouses. So we are helping people to do it strategically, and so that they do not want to kill anyone. So with that being said, the Prolon 5-day fasting mimicking diet has been something that we've been recommending for certain patients. This is something that's extremely beneficial for a lot of different reasons. But if you want to prevent the infection, or you have already been infected, reducing your calorie intake is actually extremely beneficial, because it puts your body into something called autophagy, which will control the cytokine response, number one. Number two is it will actually start to recycle your cells. So anything that is damaged or toxic or infected, those cells your immune system will naturally eradicate, and then it will stimulate stem cells to start producing healthy cells again. So this is definitely something that you can use prophylactically, but it is also something that you can use if you do also suspect you are already sick. And the good thing about this is that when we're sick, a lot of times we don't want to consume much. A lot of what is in Prolon are soups, and they're usually pretty easy to get down, even when we are not feeling well. Okay, so a couple of other things that I mentioned earlier is I mentioned that there are certain companies that do not sell directly to the patient, but they do sell to healthcare practitioners. So I am definitely relying heavily on Physica Energetics right now, because Physica Energetics sells only to practitioners, and they are one of the only companies right now that seems to have stock of products that are very immune boosting, as well as containing some of the herbs that we talked about today. One of the primaries being andrographis, because that has been proven to be the most effective against the corona genre of viruses, in addition to controlling that cytokine response that we keep talking about. So some of their products, one is called Temple Warrior, the other one is called Thymus LF. Your thymus gland is what produces all of your T cells, which are the first line of defense of your immune system. And then the other one is called Spleen LF, and your spleen works directly with your lymphatic system, and your spleen plays a very, very significant role in combating viruses. So these are a couple of items that we can definitely order on your behalf. But again, because these products have to be consumed under the supervision of a practitioner, we do advise for you to check out our Immune Boost Pack that is located at integrativelwellnessgroup.com. You can check out our shop, and it is available there. So this is definitely going to allow us to customize the dosages according to your history or what is currently happening with your current state of health. And then from there, we will be there to also advise on just anything else you need to navigate through this time. Okay, so I gave you a lot of resources, a lot of information, and some of you are probably like, wow, I wasn't able to write as fast as she was speaking. Please reference below so that you can get access to all of these notes and links that I described. Like I said earlier, if you are looking for a better understanding of the comments about 5G, a better understanding about the cytokines, a better understanding about any of the information we covered, please reference the link for Dr. Klinghart's presentation, where he gets more into the nitty-gritty of the research, papers, data, analytics, etc. I really wanted to do a more condensed version so that all of you could have the tools that you are looking for, and then be able to get your hands on things to be proactive in this time. So I thank you all for being here. IWG and our team is here to support you every step of the way. Just know that these are things that we do every single day. Obviously, we are living in a pandemic where, everyone is in fear of this virus. But like I said earlier, is that there are infections all around us, and we have seen some of the worst come through our doors of people suffering with Lyme disease and a variety of other co-infections, viruses that were contributing to, neurological decline. And these are people that recovered with natural practices. And this is everything from supplementation to dietary changes, and in addition to utilizing different immune therapies. So we can be a fantastic resource for you, no matter if you are here or if you are distance. So definitely use us as needed. And we hope that you're all staying calm. If you're not calm, make sure to get that skull cap, like I mentioned. But again, we will be keeping you guys updated on things as we go and as we learn more. But as for now, I hope that this was of value and that you are able to get your hands on some of these amazing ways to protect yourself and your family. Okay, guys, I'll see you next time.